Hello everyone, welcome to anubhavtrainings.com. In this Anubhav Learning Series video, we will discuss about how to access cloud data in SAP S4HANA on-premise system. If you have any REST service available somewhere on the cloud and you want to consume that as part of your S4 on-prem system, you will be able to achieve that with this video. We will learn about the core concepts of connections. Also writing a report program, we'll explore an OData service provided by odata.org and then consume that as part of our ABAP program. So what I want to do is I want to go back and open a service called services.odata.org. So we typically have something called services.odata.org. It's a public service platform where you can see free OData services. Now in this, we will maybe pick up this service, and you see when I open this service, it shows me list of OData services. Now what I need to do is I want to call this OData service and maybe the product set entity set. And this data I want to display in my query app. Okay, product set is just called products. Yes, this data I want to consume in my ABAP system. How can we consume this data in our ABAP system? So this is a service available on the public internet. And in order to consume this service, you need to follow below steps. So let's go ahead and talk about step by step what exactly we need to do to be able to consume this data, which is there on the public internet exposed via an OData service. This could be a REST API because OData is again another type of REST API. So you can also have a REST API, which is maybe giving you the data. So first thing is important, which is a prerequisite, and I've already showed you in the last session how to import the certificate. So you have to download the certificate from here. Yeah, to just download this certificate to your local computer. And then after that, this certificate needs to be imported in your S Trust configuration of SAP system. I have already done this activity. I can just go back and show you my S Trust. So here, when I come to my S Trust, you can see I have already imported the certificate over here under the standard SSL client section. You can see this is the entry. All right. So this is just a prerequisite. Make sure that this is done. Typically, this activity will be done by your basis team. If they've done it perfect, now you can proceed further. So as part of the next step, what you need to do is go to the transaction code SM59 and create a destination, your endpoint of the OData. And this destination essentially is of type G type connection. So let's create a G type connection. G stands for gateway type connection to any external HTTP server. So now I'll just come here and give some name. Let me give a name as Anubhav Training. And now what I'll do is I'll just maintain here the host and prefix. Remember, when maintaining the host, host part is only this much. This is the host. Don't use HTTP or HTTPS. Just put this guy. Okay, that's my host. And now, since it's a HTTPS communication, secure communication, the port number is 443. It's a default number. Always we use this. And now we have to maintain path prefix. Path prefix is this last part. What I want to exactly call. I want to call my product set entity set. I'm going to copy that and I will paste that over here. Awesome. And now maybe I just write down only the service part.
Sorry to interrupt you, Anubhav. How did you get that port number 443?
This is default port number for any HTTPS communication. Default it is fixed, always, never changes. All right.
Okay.
And for HTTP, it's 80. Okay. It's fixed always, never changes. Now coming back to the login and security. In this, you don't have to do anything because a free service on the public internet. Just only remember that you have to activate SSL and you have to now choose here default SSL client is standard. Why am I doing this? Because if you go back to the S Trust configuration, you will see we have imported the certificate under the same section. So we are basically connecting these pieces together. We are saying, please refer SSL client. SSL client is standard for certificate related activities. And that's what exactly maintaining default SSL client is standard. You see standard, and you see standard here. And here we have already imported this certificate for OData in the S Trust. It's valid till 13/7/2020. So sometimes it's not valid. So need to be make sure that it's valid till the right time. So once this configuration is done, make sure that you activate and do this, and I'll save this. You can also do additionally a connection test, and you see you get an okay response. Fantastic. This is the mandatory step you have to perform in order to make sure there is a secure communication between your ABAP system and to that external agent, to that external service. Now, this is the responsibility of your basis team to give you a connection. However, now you know the steps, you can do it by yourself. All right, let's move on. And now what we want to do is just to create a report program using this G-type connection, invoke the external service, which is very easy. So let's come back and understand what's happening here. So what's exactly happening? You have a client server architecture. So your client here is typically your client is a browser. So when you build a Fiori app, what do you exactly do? You make a get, post, delete calls to the server, right? So there's a server, there's a client, and you do a request response all the time. So you make a request from the client, and this request can be made by multiple ways from a browser-based application. In Fiori, we are using OData model. So OData model dot create dot read dot put dot delete. We are actually calling the OData service OData model, and that's what actually making these calls behind the scene for you. In a normal HTML page, if you want to do this activity, there are three techniques. One is using AJAX call, $AJAX. Another option is called form submit, and the last option is called HTTP handler class in the JavaScript. So similarly, we need somebody who can talk to the internet, over the internet, to this server, to the URL which this server is giving you as a connection pointer. So this activity needs to be done not directly by browser, rather by a code. And in the code, you will typically, in a UI5 app, you write OData model dot read or something, right? Similarly, in ABAP, you need somebody who can talk to this guy, who can talk to via HTTP. And that's what called HTTP client. HTTP client in an ABAP system is actually the agent who is responsible for the communication. And now the client is no more browser, it's an ABAP system. But as I showed you, the prerequisite is have to have a trust relationship. Your ABAP system should trust that particular domain or that particular endpoint, which we have already done and tested our connection. And now it's time, very simple, to use this HTTP client to be able to talk and get the information out. I'm going to go back. So connection test is fine. Switch to an ABAP report. Don't worry, I will share the complete source code with all of you into the description of this video. So you can just do that. So let me come and say Z Anubhav underscore call external service. This source code I will give it to all of you. So I will click on create a new report. Now it could be an OData, could be a REST, or same can be a SOAP from PUB system. And I keep making a call. Executable reports, click on save, local object. And now we will instantiate our HTTP client object. Yeah. And then we will use a method to make a request that endpoint. And then we will make another call to receive the data and show the data to the user. So let's create an HTTP client object. It's extremely simple and easy to create HTTP client object. So what will be our step? Step number one, create an HTTP client object. Step number two is to make a request. Step number three is ask for response. Step number four is to get the data in your collection. Now this collection can be a string basically because you're getting a JSON response. And step number 5, display data. And additionally, you can do step number 6, where you can parse this data, basically converting JSON to an internal table or converting an XML to an internal table called parsing. Now, those who are not comfortable with how to parse an XML, please subscribe my Oops ABAP training, where I've explained how to use XML interface in ABAP to be able to process the complete XML in ABAP. Okay, very powerful training. Oops ABAP with the design patterns, a must-have training for all of you. As an architect in your company, you must know design patterns and XML processing in ABAP. All right, let's come back step by step, line by line, no copy paste of code. First step is create HTTP client object. And I'll say create by destination. Enter. And I'll just go ahead and enter the destination name. We already know the destination name. We just created it. It's Anubhav training. And I'll just put that over here. Let's import, and this responds you back with an HTTP client object. So we will use the new ABAP syntax to capture this client object, data, hello, HTTP. So we have received a client object. Of course, additionally, we do exception handling. Just in case something went wrong during this connection, maybe the server can be down. So you can please capture the exception and throw me an error message accordingly. It's an exception handling. And now comes to the HTTP client object. If you have it, we will use to make a request. The URL is already there in your destination, so you just have to say send. Please make a request. And now I will just have to do exception handling again. That's all I need to do. Very simple use case for most of the services available on internet, on the public internet without any authentication. They are there. You can just use them. So we made a request. That was a step number 2. I'm just going to move this code in my commented code so that we can remember. Step number 3, ask for response. Again, same HTTP object is used all the time. Say, please give me receive. Once again, exception handling everywhere. Just in case anything goes wrong, we will will be notified by the message. Step number 4 is to now capture the data. So let's declare a result. Okay. And then we will use our HTTP object to say, please give me response. What is the response? You can also check the response header, and you can also check the response body. So I'm interested only in the body of the response. So I will say get the data, content data. What give me content data. And now finally we will just display this data into the URL, into the browser. So SAP gives you a free class called TL_web_browser, where you can display the content in a browser. It is showing, and you can display here. So I'll say show HTML, and we will just pass the response to this HTML string. Actually, we will just also do title here, and we just keep our website name, anubhavtrainings.com. And now I will just come back to HTML string and map our result to this gentleman over here. Let me activate. Fantastic. Got activated. It's time to shoot. Let me execute. And now it's making a call. Wow, there you go. The data all the way to that, from that OData service. The service document is popping up on your screen. Thank you so much for creating S-Trust configuration to my basis, plus additionally the RFC destination, the G-type destination, to make a secure connection with that HTTP protocol. And then finally this simple program. Remember, this program code is so generic, you can just use it by changing your destination. It's so generic. These steps never changes. These steps remains as it is, no matter how many types or different types of service you're calling. These steps remains as it is. Now, another benefit you get with creating the RFC destination is you separated out the URL. So you don't have to touch your program in case you want to change the response. Yeah. So you don't have to go and every day touch your program code. You simply can go to RFC destination, G type destination, and simply here and make the changes to what you want to call. I want to now call products, mark dollar format is equals to JSON. That's it. I just save this. I can come back and I can make another call without a problem. And what I should see now is the data, wow, coming out of SAP's or non-SAP system. It is actually, it's a public API on the internet and got all the data in the JSON format. Of course, this plugin of CL ABAP browser cannot do the JSON formatting like we can do in normal browser, but no problem. You can just copy this complete thing and straight away jump to unaboutrainings.com. Oh, I'm so sorry. You have to go to jsonlinks.com. This is our website, unaboutrainings.com. Just go to jsonlinks.com. And that's again, I can validate the data coming out of the system. So just come here and say validate, and wow, there you go. You can see this is your exact data calling from a real-time service published on the internet, REST API on the internet somewhere. We're just making a call to it and it's responding me all the data out of that system actually. Awesome, fantastic. So now it's time to parse this data and show this result to the end user. So typically a JSON, how does it look like? If you just also take it back, this JSON response, you can see the JSON starts with curly braces, and then we have this metadata over here. This is the part, and then we have this value part and starting with a bracket. So we actually don't want this piece of part at all. Okay, what we want is to just start our parsing from this piece of string, which is like starting of an array, so that this can be transformed into an internal table. So to remove this first piece of part, we will be doing a little bit of string operation on the result string. So you can see we have got already the result string here. So I'm going to split it based on the bracket, starting bracket, and then we will be using this information in the system. So let me declare a variable called LV final. This is going to be my final JSON string we will be using. So let me make it little maximum. I will be sharing this entire code with all of you. Please check the description of this video so that you can also go ahead and try to create a similar example in your own system. So let's split the result string, a simple split operation in ABAP programming. Add this bracket into a table and inline table declaration, let's say string tab. And now in the next step, we will be reading this string tab into a work area. With index of 2, the second position item, the second part of the string we will read, and then we will concatenate again this bracket with this second part which we read over here into this LV final string. Now last step is just to go ahead and parse this data and bring it in an internal table. Now remember, your internal table structure must match with the data. So we've already declared this internal table on the top. We type data, ID, name, description, release date, discounted date, rating, and price. This is exactly matching with the structure of the data which we have in this REST service. I'm going to come back and take this part, and we'll be using one of the powerful class which is provided by SAP UI5 framework called /UI2 slash CL class, and this provides me a static method called deserialize. So this is how we can deserialize the JSON. So deserialize means converting a string to an internal table. The opposite of that is serialize, where you want to convert a table internal table to a JSON string. Sometimes you may want to transport this data over a REST service. So in that case, you will follow the serialize. That's something which I'll also cover in another video on Anubhav Learning series. So now I will pass this LV string over here, this JSON, and then we will say pretty name. We will also use a constant here in the pretty name so that we can tell the system that the data is camel case sensitive. So let's pass a constant over here /UI2 /CLJSON class, same class, but in that there are also constants like pretty mode, and I will say it's camel case. And then we will finally receive the data which we will capture in our internal table declared over here. And ultimately this data needs to be displayed to the user. So we'll be using one of the very popular demo class, CL demo output class. And we just go ahead and display data and pass this internal table over here. Fantastic. So again, a quick repeat for the step parsing the data from JSON to ITAB. That's what we are doing using deserialized method. This is a built-in class provided by SAP UI framework, not SAP UI 5, basically SAP UI component framework. And then this step, we are just display data to the user. So just a reminder, this session is brought to you by anubhavtrainings.com. Just save this up and now we will activate. We are ready to see things in action. So the first one, it will be displaying us a HTML result of that JSON string. And the next one, it will do the parsing and it will show you the data in table form. Let's go ahead and execute. So you see first the JSON comes up. It is calling the OData service, all the same data. You can also compare this data quickly. So see 0 bread, whole grain bread. If you go back to the service response, REST service response, 0 bread, whole grain bread. So that's exactly the data. And I just close this. It will now do the processing and wow, you can see the complete result is available in form of your internal table. Exactly precisely the result from the REST service is now popping up. And now this data you can insert in a database table, or you can expose it in an ELV report, or maybe you can create another OData service on top of it using SEGW or using CDS, and then expose this to the Fiori application if you want to make ABAP as a bridge between the app and this external service. So that's all for the day. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you like my session, please feel free to hit the like button, and also do let me know what else do you want me to cover in my learning series videos. For detailed training on SAP UI5 Fiori Gateway OData, including ABAP on HANA, CDS Views, AMDP, S4 HANA, feel free to contact us on anubhavtrainings.com, your one-stop solution for all your technical learning under one single roof. With that, Anubhav signing out. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.